Donkey Kong Bonanza has gotten more praise from players than Donald Trump has gotten from Donald Trump. It's the game of the year, game of the decade, game of the century. But does it actually live up to all the hype? Because many declare it's the best monkey game since Wukong. I gotta say though, I finally got around to playing Wukong, and I hated it. I played Wukong Sun Black Legend, which I purchased on the Nintendo eShop for $7.99. It controls terribly, looks like a Flash game made by a middle schooler, and I didn't realize until after playing it that the music and sound effects are set off by default, so I played it in complete silence. Definitely not a Game of the Year contender, no matter how anti-woke it is. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that it's a scam game created by a fly-by-night studio in an attempt to confuse consumers who want to play an actual high-quality game. Good thing it's not though, because Nintendo makes sure their eShop is only home to the best and brightest. But going back to Donkey Kong, this game is being lauded as the second coming of 3D platformers. Maybe not a surprise, considering it's made by the studio behind Super Mario Odyssey, Nintendo EPD Production Group number 8. Yeah, group number 8! Get out of here, all you other numbers. Fun fact, Nintendo EPD doesn't actually have groups numbered 1 or 2. They never existed. I was never listed in Productions Group 1 or 2. Stop asking me about them. No one ever cared about them in the first place. Production Groups 1 and 2 are hoaxes created by the corrupt PlayStation media to undermine Nintendo's achievements, like pricing Mario Kart at $80. So being the first 3D Donkey Kong game in over 25 years, after the fondly remembered but truly annoying Donkey Kong 64, as well as the first major single-player exclusive for the Switch 2, all eyes are on Bonanza. So far, it seems to have won the masses over. After all, Billy Ballo98 on Metacritic says that it's perfect, Mario Odyssey best successor, levels never boring, and good graphic. God, do I even need to continue the video after that? Well, let's dive deeper into Bonanza and see if it's really as great as everyone says. Donkey Kong Bonanza's core gameplay is unlike almost any other. There's plenty of games out there that focus around building things, but that's cringe. Who wants to bother spending time building a little dump of a house that you wouldn't be proud enough to bring a Tinder date home to? No, instead of centering around construction, Bonanza centers around destruction. Come to think of it, the only other game I've played that does this is Red Faction Gorilla. So this is Red Faction Gorilla. Now all we need to complete the trifecta is Red Faction Glorilla. In each of Donkey Kong Bonanza's levels, a large portion of the environment is destructible. There are some things you can't destroy, but for the most part, every bit of the terrain can be smashed harder than the like button. The game's destruction succeeds because of a few reasons, the first being that it works. Bonanza uses voxel technology, which you may have heard of from the 1,000 abandoned Minecraft clones. Voxels are the 3D equivalent of pixels. There were dashes of them used in Super Mario Odyssey, and then a prototype with a Rayman-styled Goomba. Even myself, with my near-zero amount of programming knowledge, realizes how a fully 3D, destructible, interactive world could end up breaking in a million different ways. But they pulled it off. The game runs at a consistent 60 FPS, with no bugs or glitches that I noticed. Everything works exactly the way you'd expect it to, which sounds like the bare minimum, but for a game with an unconventional gameplay system and the scale of that system, the fact that everything works as well as it does is a major accomplishment. Imagine if all games worked as well as Donkey Kong Bonanza. We'd be out of things to complain about. But the destruction working isn't all that's great about it. There's also the fact that it feels good. The animations are fast and flashy, and the sound effects perfectly match the visuals. This all creates a very tactile feeling, so that the 10,000th rock you smash will be just as satisfying as the first. It's the kind of mechanic that when you go play another game, you find yourself wishing that it had Bonanza's destruction. Sometimes you end up digging through the environment, not even pursuing a specific goal, but just pounding your way through because it feels good. Thankfully though, the pounding here is much safer than most other kinds. What helps with this are the controls, which are as fluid as you'd expect from a game by the 3D Mario team. Having one button that punches forward, one that punches up, and one that punches down takes a few minutes to get used to, but then feels completely natural. Donkey Kong can climb most surfaces, similarly to Link, but with no stamina meter, which leads to this movement feeling just as organic as walking does. Sorry to say, drag and drive players just can't relate. But the real marvel here is the camera. 3D platformers and bad cameras go together like streamers and scandals. It's a disease that's mostly been cured in recent years, but you gotta play it safe. Going into Bonanza, I was worried that it would be yet another instance of a good game with a bad camera. A lot of titles make the mistake of treating the camera as if it's a physical object in the game's world, not letting it go through walls and causing it to jut up to your character anytime you're in a tight space. And with how often you're in tight spaces in Bonanza, I was afraid that this could cause a worldwide claustrophobia epidemic. Thankfully, the game solves this problem by using 2 different camera modes, which it switches between seamlessly. When you're outside, the camera will be more traditional, and is treated like an object that can't float through solid surfaces. But when you're inside, the outer world darkens and only shows you the interior, giving you a view through the now transparent environment. It's always clear where you are and where the walls are. Even outside, the camera will adapt to give you the best view of things. When you're in a big open area, it'll pull out, giving you a wider look. A lot of testing must have gone into making this work, and there are some awkward transitions when you go between inside and out. But overall, I think the camera works as well as it possibly could for this type of game. But as much as Donkey Kong Bonanza does things that are new and different, it also follows the same formula as other high-profile Nintendo games. That is, the balance of open-world exploration with linear challenges. A format we've seen quite a bit from Nintendo is a game with very open-ended exploration containing a scattering of linear challenges. Breath of the Wild is the first notable title to use this formula, with the massive open world being home to dozens of puzzle-based shrines. This continued in Super Mario Odyssey, with the explorable levels featuring pipes to linear platforming segments. Even Mario Kart World uses this format in free roam, with all of the P-switch challenges spread across the Mushroom Kingdom. Oh shoot, that's not a good comparison, because no one's ever played Mario Kart World free roam. Nintendo clearly likes this format, since they keep using it, and it appears again in Donkey Kong Bonanza. The levels are all very open-ended, but in them you'll find tons of linear challenges. Some are to defeat enemies in a certain amount of time, some are to reach the end point of the section, and some are bonus stages that will shower you in gold. These segments give the player the opportunity to put what they learn in the open areas to use, thanks to what they can smash through here being limited. Doing these challenges provides a nice change of pace from the main levels, but there's more to them than that, because even though they're linear, they encourage exploration. Some challenges might be placed in obvious areas, but many are off the beaten path and require some exploring to get to. But at the risk of sounding like your dad, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. It's the same philosophy as the shrines in Zelda. You might see one in the distance and venture towards it, but all you discover along the way is what makes the experience great. Even though it's similar, Donkey Kong is not Zelda. If he was, the timeline would be more messed up than it already is. And unlike Zelda shrines, DK's challenges are not found by gazing across the vast landscape of the world, but by a new phenomenon: monkey sonar. By pressing the R button, DK will slap the ground with both hands. This is one of his classic moves, but it's given new functions here. It sends out a sonar ray, showing the location of Banandium gems, treasure chests, and challenges that are nearby. What's very clever is that the hand slap has another ability, which is that it collects gold and health restoring apples near you. With this, a very satisfying and addictive gameplay loop is formed. Smash up something that gives you gold, hand slap it to pick it up, see something through the sonar that you want, and tunnel your way towards it, likely with the same loop repeating on the way. I can't overstate how important it is that the hand slap does both the collection and sonar. At first, it seems like 2 functions that don't have anything to do with each other, but they interlock so well. The collection ability will incentivize you to use it, and the sonar that results will motivate you to your next objective. Donkey Kong Bonanza also makes the smart move of not having you explore just for exploration's sake. In order to make completing tasks feel worth it, you have to give a meaningful reward. And so, the developers have implemented a tried and sometimes true system to provide this: skill points. I did not stream the Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct on June 18th, 2025, Honestly, because the Mario Kart World Direct was so underwhelming, I was sure this one would be the same. If I had streamed it though, you would have seen me react to the skill points with some form of the statements. Skill points? In Donkey Kong? Seriously? I don't hate skill points inherently, but every day in gaming pushes me closer. They just feel like a lazy solution that nearly every developer uses. It's not so much about what skill points are, but what they represent. A disappointing stagnation in the art of designing progression systems. For Nintendo, a company that tries to innovate to the point where sometimes it's problematic, to see them take this easy, overly tread path was disheartening. However, after having played DK Bonanza, the way the skill points are implemented here, they're fine. Skill points can be deposited into the skills page in exchange for benefits like extra abilities. I place a bigger focus on increased health and destruction strength, plus amping up my sonar. Many points are for abilities specific to the Bonanza Powers, which are cool, but I mostly put mine in the core Donkey Kong slots. I'm a DK purist, what can I say? Some of the choices could be more interesting, but overall they're helpful, which makes them worth going for. What I appreciate about the skill points isn't what they do, but how you get them. The main objectives reward you with Banandium gems, which are similar to Mario Odyssey's moons. Unlike the moons, however, they actually do something, as each Banandium gem gets you 1/5 of the way to a skill point. In this way, they're really more similar to the Spirit Orbs from Breath of the Wild than Odyssey's moons. God, if Nintendo was split up into separate companies, they could sue themselves so many times. Because each gem puts you on track to receive a skill point, the motivation to collect them is strong. It's not like games where skill points are rewarded for hitting some arbitrary XP goal and leveling up. They require you to engage with the game in a meaningful way. If you want to make Donkey Kong bigger, faster, and stronger too, you have to put your brain to work and hunt around for the Banandium gems as much as possible. One thing about the game I wasn't so hot on was the Bonanza Powers. When you build up a meter by collecting gold, Donkey Kong is able to transform into several different safari animals, each with their own unique powers. The designs are very nice and the music is cool, but their uses are much too context sensitive for my taste. There's very little creativity needed in using them. You get to a part where they're needed and go, oh, looks like I have to turn into the elephant here, and then do exactly what the game asks of you. For an experience that places a big focus on coming up with your own solutions to challenges, this feels like a major departure. Most of the time when there's a section that needs the Bonanza powers, you can only complete the objective by using that power. Ironically, the parts I most enjoyed using the Bonanzas was where they weren't expected, just using them to quickly navigate different segments of the main areas. The ostrich and the snake were the most useful here, since their powers help with traversal. My least favorite transformation, by far, is the zebra. It lets you run across certain surfaces, and that's it. There's pretty much no reason to use the zebra outside of these very specific sections, which makes me wonder why it was included in the first place. Most likely reason is that one of the developer's kids is really into zebras, and who doesn't want to be the hero dad? But going back to a more positive note, I absolutely loved the levels in this game. And let's be clear, these are not stages, they're levels. Levels. The settings are super creative, and very few of them could be thought of as traditional. The forest layer could be considered a standard jungle level, but twist that by placing a big focus on an in-game hotel. The landfill layer is so fun to dig through. It feels like the type of level that delivers on the game's premise. The Tempest and Radiance layers give us weather-themed and light-themed levels, both of which I'd have never considered to be in a platform game. And then the Feast layer knocks it out of the park with its fast food theme. The creativity of these worlds are similar to Mario Odyssey, one of that game's biggest strengths. But level for level, Donkey Kong Bonanza might just have Odyssey beat. The layouts are very cleverly constructed. Many of the bigger ones are divided into different sections, called sublayers. This works well, and allows the levels to be big without being overwhelming. Combined with a generous fast travel system, an easy-to-use method of locating your objective, and an absolutely stellar map, there's virtually no way to lose track of where you are. And speaking of the map screen, this might be one of the best I've ever seen in a game. It's a full 3D model of the area you're in, and is incredibly detailed and clear. With how much verticality there is in the game, a simple flat map just wouldn't have done the job. so I applaud the developers for not taking the easy way out and just having a 2D map with multiple layers to scroll through. What's also great about the levels is that while each one is open-ended, they all have a distinct flow to them. There is an objective marker which makes it obvious where to go, but even if it didn't, the path you're supposed to take can be easily inferred by the natural course of the level geometry. Each layer has essentially one path winding through, with tons of objectives and items placed around it to keep you happily distracted. So this is a fantastic game to play if you have ADHD. So is Donkey Kong Bonanza as good as everyone says? Honestly, yes. In many areas, it meets the points that you'd expect from a marquee Nintendo title. Fun visuals, charming characters, diverse enemies, creative worlds, and intuitive controls. But that's all secondary to the best part of the game, its originality. The destruction in Bonanza is something wholly unique. There are other voxel-based games out there, but they're mostly aimless survival games. When it comes to 3D platformers, I've never played another like Donkey Kong Bonanza. The title gave me what I crave the most when playing a new game, something I haven't experienced before. Bonanza might follow some trends set by other games. The format of Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, and the fact that it's made by the 3D Mario team, or even its place in the Donkey Kong series makes it easy to dismiss at first glance as just another one of those games. But that's all just window dressing. As a DK fan, I can enjoy the nods to the greater universe, but it doesn't need any of that. Donkey Kong Bonanza is released into a world of iterative sequels, remakes, and endless derivativity. But it smashes through this rotten landscape and says that we can have games that haven't been done before. There's a whole world of undiscovered ideas to find. All we have to do is dig.